What is good, YouTube? Quinway basketball analysis coming to y'all with a quick video. We're gonna talk about the Lakers. They went 0-5 in the preseason so far, and I'm not as low on them as everybody else is. Russell Westbrook has been known for struggling to score the ball efficiently. This isn't anything new. Russell Westbrook has been one of the leaders in turnovers every single season of his career since he's been a primary ball handler slash decision maker. So none of these things are new that Russell Westbrook is doing because this is who he has been. I just found out that Russell Westbrook is the highest paid player on this team. And that is absolutely ridiculous. That just can't happen when your third best player, your fourth best player is your highest paid player and he won't even produce what your best players are going to do. They brought Russell Westbrook in here to be that guy that makes it easier for AD, get the lobs, get the pick and pops, make it easier on LeBron so he doesn't have to do everything. He got the injury. He wasn't the same, didn't really have the same aggression, didn't really have the same go and burst that he usually has. LeBron will eventually figure it out. We know that they're going to beat the bad teams, they're going to beat the good teams, and they're going to beat the ugly teams. So they're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to have hiccups. They have a lot of new players on this roster. They have a lot of players that they got to show their role, define their role, get used to their role, and everybody got to get accustomed to this team. They changed so much of this roster. It's going to take some time for them to gel. It is. It just is. And even when you look at Vogel, he got to figure out how to get this team to defend. He has to figure out what this team identity is. They have a lot of talent, but they got to figure out what we're trying to run, what we're trying to do, what's our game plan on both ends of the court. But that's what preseason is for, to try and figure these things out and smooth it out as the season continue to go. That's the same thing with training camp. And once they figure out their roster, once they figure out their lineups, and once they figure out everybody roles and what they need them to be and what they need them to do on the court, everything will solve and work itself out. It's the Lakers. That's why I didn't really want to make this video, is because it's LeBron, it's AD, it's Russell Westbrook, and that comes with the territory, especially when you have all three of them on the same teams. There will be expectations, especially because LeBron and AD are a championship duo and they're looking for a way to get back to another title, and Russell Westbrook is looking for his first. This is Russell Westbrook's best chance at winning the title in so many years. He's been on okay to great teams, but he hasn't been on a championship level team in a while. And if I had to be honest, I don't look at this Lakers as a championship team. They're capable of winning it, so they're a contender. But I'm not going all in on the Lakers. AD did not look like the dominant AD that we seen in the bubble in the regular season. Plus, he dealt with a lot of injuries. LeBron James didn't look like the same LeBron in the playoffs, and even now the aggression is not there, the hunger isn't there, the push isn't there, and Russ brings that. He always coming at you, but he has his own struggles, he has his own inner demons that he hasn't been able to overcome as a player, and it's frustrating just because you need this guy to produce, especially when you look at this contract. He's not going to live up to it. Russell Westbrook isn't going to give you a triple 20-point triple double. I was just discussing it with Destiny, my partner, and he's not going to be able to do it. They have way too many ball handlers, way too many bigs for him to really get a triple double. So Russell Westbrook is going to have to find a way to adapt. This has always been what he wants to do, how he wants to play, and it's just not going to happen with the Lakers. And he's just going to have to accept that, and he's going to have to figure out a way to fit in with this team instead of everybody fitting in with him, just because he is no longer the best player. He's no longer this MVP Russ. He wasn't even an All-Star. He wasn't even an All-NBA player last year, and it's because of the injuries. It's because of the years. It's because of the toll that he has been taking on his body by being an NBA player for all these years. And now he's in his 30s. So he's losing some of those things. And we're not going to be a reliable mid-range shooter. You're not going to be a reliable three-point shooter. And you're not going to be able to make great decisions, which has always been his problem. So it's nothing new. Kind of wonder should they have made that Kyle Lowry trade instead of making that Russ trade, because he would be a better fit. But now that they got Russ, they have to see this thing out. I don't think too many teams are jumping on a Russ $44 million contract, especially if he's playing at a low point throughout the season like he's already doing right now in the preseason. If you playing worse and your contract is that big, one of the biggest contracts in the entire league, and you're not even playing up close to that, I ain't in the rush to save you. I ain't in the rush to take you. And the Lakers felt like he will be an upgrade over Dennis Schroeder. It makes sense. He is a better player. And he is a guy that has been, one of the best players in the league for a long time. But this is the Russ now. When he signed his super max, that was the Russ then. He had to see out this whole entire contract. And the Russ that he is now is a beat up, toe up, inefficient version of himself, was basically saying he's worse. So as a team, you had to figure out a way to make him better. You had to motivate him. You had to figure out a way to make this work because honestly, this is your roster. LeBron, AD, and Russ is your roster. These other guys aren't the greatest complementary players. They aren't the greatest shooters. A lot of these guys on proven contracts to see if they can stay in the league and see if they can really buy into a specific role as they other roles have diminished and they have to accept where they at now in the league and try to make the best of it. But at the same time, a lot of these guys haven't been great players. They have been skill set players where they're good at one or two things and that's it. And now they're asked to play at the highest level of their career. Some of these guys past their prime. They're no longer key pieces anymore. They're part of the pieces to great pieces. And if LeBron and AD is not playing at a superstar level, which they haven't, coming out of the playoffs, plus, you still got to factor in health, and you got to factor in that this team is old and they relying on a lot of players that have been injured throughout their career or missed significant time, including AD and LeBron the last couple years since he's been with the Lakers. It could be trouble. This thing can get ugly. This is a boom or bust team where if they figure it out, they're dangerous. But they also have a high bust ability where if everybody flop or one injury happens, their championship window is gone because they really don't have too many ways to get out of this Russ contract other than letting it play out another year. But then that's another year you wasting with LeBron and AD. LeBron don't look the same anymore. He shouldn't be. He's almost 40 years old, and he's been carrying a load since he's been in high school. It's going to eventually catch up to you, especially when you add in the injuries that he's been sustaining. He's still sustained greatness. He's still one of the best players, and so is AD. But they needed a little bit more talent. They needed a little bit more help to iron out a lot of this. I don't feel like a lot of people they picked up was ideal fits. I don't feel like a lot of people they picked up should have been a priority that they was because when we looked at how they played last year, yeah, they was great. Yeah, they was dominant. But when we look at the fact that you have to play an 82 game season, plus you have to go 4 rounds in the playoffs, this roster is a disaster when it comes to finding a way to get through all that just to win the title. I'm lower on the Lakers than everybody, especially after seeing how they performed during the ending to the playoffs. And then they're coming into this season and they look dysfunctional. They look like they already losing a little bit of hope. I always tell people, and I was telling this to my girl Destiny yesterday, that's a recipe for disaster when you looking at it like we got a lot of problems and the season about to start. Are you going into the season and you have all these known problems and all the things you have to work, but then you realize we got to figure this out because games actually about to count. We about to get off to a bad start, and then we got to find a way to put it all together and still try to win a title against the West and the Brooklyn Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks and those teams in the East. Plus, they don't even count that the trade deadline is here. I'm going to come, and then some other team going to make a move to surpass them or be on a level. Then they got to watch out for them. Plus, they got to go those extra 4 rounds just to win the title. This team is literally a disaster. They are. I seen it coming a little bit, but with guys understanding the game, guys knowing how to play the game, and guys just knowing how to win a game, maybe they have enough to pull it together and still be a great team. I still have them as a contender, a team that could win it. I don't look at them as the favorites. I don't look at them as the best team in the West. I've been saying that, and I still believe in they really proving it now. But they have a lot of things that they have to figure out. The problem is the season is starting next week, and they have to get this stuff together before the end of the season, and they still have to go through 4 rounds of the playoffs to win the title. It's mission impossible. LeBron and AD really are going to have to perform at all-time great levels. Then again, that's why they won the title. Then again, that was 2 years ago, and this just ain't the same duo that it was 2 years ago, which is crazy because they look like 1 and 2. Now they don't look like that no more. Now they don't. And then the pieces ain't the same. That team fit better This team is just a scatter of talent thrown together and asked to perform a task of winning the title. That's tough to do, especially when you have as many problems as they have going into the season. This is a veterans group. This is a veteran squad, and they have a bunch of guys that have made the playoffs consistently so far and have made deep playoff runs. Maybe the experience, maybe the know-how, maybe LeBron and them, get into that gear where they'd be enough. But we need to see that now as the first couple months go. If you feel like this team needs a couple months, I'm with you. Because they have a lot of things that they have to figure out if they want to, at the end of the day, win a title. I'm low on LeBron and AD. I'm low on these Lakers. But I still give them a puncher's chance. They still have a shot to be dangerous. It's just a long shot. They on Mission Impossible this season, trying to get all these things figured out while still trying to win the title. They far away from it, but they have enough. If LeBron and AD play at a superstar level to still be dangerous and to be look at a team that can bring home the title, it's just they got to iron out all these things, and they still got to stay healthy, and that's going to be a problem of its own. That's one of the biggest reasons why they was out in the first round, and that was one of the biggest reasons why they was at the bottom of the seeding of the Western Conference, fighting in the play-in just to get a spot, just because them creaky tires. They start fumbling, they start rumbling, and they fell off, and they was out in the first round. This is the wrong conference and the wrong year to have off time. This is the wrong conference and the wrong year to not have it figured out at the end of the day. Just like we seen last year, you get the wrong matchup, you get the right team, you out in the first round, out in the second round, which I believe they will be, and now you're having some trouble figuring out what we do next in the offseason. They went from having everything solved to now they're trying to figure out the right pieces to put around LeBron and AD to win championship number 2 with them as a duo. It's been a lot tougher than they have figured and thought, but they still have that responsibility to get it done. This is the Lakers. This is one of the greatest ran plus organizations in the history of the NBA, if not the greatest. And they have one of the greatest players ever in LeBron and one of the up-and-coming greatest players in AD and one of the most consistent players when it comes to being great in Russell Westbrook. But could be the wrong moment, wrong time. And if that's the case, they can be going home early. And they can be the talk of the entire world, trying to figure out what is this team, what are they going to be, and talking about every day how they're going to figure it out and what's going wrong. They might be that team like we see in the preseason. It's the preseason, so I'm not panicking. I'm not going overboard because they got a lot more games to play. They got an entire season and playoffs to play. But this is the problem that we all seen coming into the season. And I don't really have too much of a problem when they played together. I feel like the offense was flowing. They played decent. They just went to their bench, and that really will help them lose that game. But there's only one game. It was only one time having them all on the court, and they have an entire season to figure it out. Let's give them a chance. Let's give them some time. Talk to me 2-3 months from now, and we'll see where this Laker team at, and that's how we should judge them. They really have so many new pieces and so many things they got to get done, and the problem is they have to get it done because this team has enough talent to win a title. I just don't see the fit, and I just don't see the personnel being enough to ultimately get it done, especially when you factor in they depend on a lot of guys that's injury prone on top of that. But this is the roster that they put together. This is the roster that they built. This is the problems that they, caused to themselves. Let them figure it out. If they get it done, we give them the credit. If they don't, they got a huge problem going into the offseason. Let's just see what happens. At the end of the day, Quinn Wade, Basketball Analysis signing out. Hopefully I see y'all tomorrow. Enjoy the night. I'm gone.